And Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it! It's done! It's Georgie Kelly! Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Hello. Thank you all for being with us. I hope you're all very, very well. The season's over and we can all relax even further now. There is no more football to worry about for the release dates, aren't there?
Yeah, it looks like Matt's
it's not my Wi-Fi for a change. Get in.
Matt's done a Danny.
I don't know what's up with the Wi-Fi. It's not very good. The joys of remote recording. The joys of it. Yeah, we're going to try and get an hour out of talking about a Wigan game. I don't know how well that's going to go, to be honest with you, but we're going to try. And we'll go from there. No, it's not going to happen. Martin Holland's right in this place. Says, good evening. Can't wait for the fixtures coming out. Enjoy the downtime initially. Neil Lewis says, hi all. Are we going to pay for season tickets tomorrow? They go on sale. Sarah Alden's with us. YouTube user says, evening one and all. What a party. Wigan was ace. And Tobias is with us as well. Thank you very much, everybody. Mick's with us. Michael, how are you?
Yes, I'm all right, mate. Thank you very much. You?
I'm better than my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I think. And Danny, are you back with us? How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm quite impressed with my Wi-Fi at the minute. I'm running a split screen and it's still working okay. I think your internet seems a bit better now, Matt. Have you given the hamster in the wheel a good kick? And now it's better.
I've texted my wife to turn off all the devices in the house, and it seems to,
using my tactic.
So,
I like it.
Not only do I take up an entire room when we're doing this podcast, I now take up everybody else's internet in the entire house as well. So I'm dead popular, as you can tell. Michael Carnell's with us and he also wants to say hello to us. Says, good evening, lads. Just to see we've all been brilliant, and he will still be watching us all the time. Thank you very much, Michael. John Mill, this is the start, I'm afraid. It's bad news. Evening, gentlemen, we both miss out on the 18th place trophy. As it turned out, Mick, we couldn't have won it anyway. Even if we won the game, Huddersfield would have still been the 18th place champions. But 19th ain't bad.
Damn that Neil Warnock bloke. Unbelievable scenes.
Who it screws over.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter, doesn't it? I don't care. Not interested. Not bothered. I mean, it would have been nice to take it off Birmingham, but it is what it is. It's got a Rotherham connection, that 18th place, even if it's only a tenuous one. So it's got a Yorkshire connection on it, I suppose. So yeah, I am more than happy with our finishing position this season. Given the context of the season as well, in terms of injuries and change of manager and so on and so forth, I don't think it's a bad return, really.
No, 50 points, Danny. Finished above 5 teams. Justifiably be finished above all 5 teams as well, even including all the points deduction. We still would have finished above them, which doesn't really matter. But it's nice to have sort of in your back pocket. There's nobody goes, oh, you'd have gone down anyway. We stayed up justified, no questions or qualms.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to say we stayed up of our own accord and not because of somebody else's naughtiness, shall we say. But yeah, getting to 50 points is nice. It's our highest points total since 2003-04, I think it is. I know 50 points doesn't sound like a lot in modern football. Now we've got 3 points for a win, but for a team like Rotherham, we've got one in before end of the season. There you go. Yep. It's a nice total. It's shown growth from last time in the Championship to tick over into the next lot of points. But to do it in the way that we did, absolutely piled up with injuries. Matt Taylor named a full squad that could compete at Championship level that was out injured for us. Yeah. So it's just a massive achievement, and it wasn't the best game at Wigan. Let's get that elephant out of the room. It wasn't the best game. It was an awful game. Yeah, it were an awful game of football. It one of those boring games all season, but it were a nothing game for both teams. So to get through it with a clean sheet, and a nice tidy draw to tick us over to 50, I'm happy with it. Now we're on the beach officially.
Yeah, just on the game, Mick, and I know this it is completely pointless what I'm about to say, but we had another level. We just didn't want. There was no need for other level. If there was something riding on that game, we would have won that game relatively comfortably, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be as enthusiastic about the performance as Danny's been from either team. It was exactly what you would expect from a team that's safe and a team that's already relegated. And we played as though we'd been on lash all week, didn't they? Really, I mean, I know they had the end of season awards night the couple of days before, or 3 or 4 days previous to that. It looked like they'd not stopped celebrating, to be honest. So, yeah, it was a woeful game, but it's not relevant, really, is it? It's absolutely not relevant to either us or to Wigan, to be honest with you. So it was an anticlimax for me, and I'm not sure how much I like not having anything to play for on last day. However, if we're going to remain in this division and we're going to be down near that bottom, I'll be happy. I'll take it. I'll take a boring Saturday every day of every week.
Yeah. Your blood pressure probably enjoyed not having to worry about anything last day of the season, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I lost my rag with anybody. I don't think I shouted at referee. I don't think,
No, you did shout at referee.
I think I shouted at the clown who threw the chair onto his own supporters. I think I shouted at that back end of the game, but other than that,
yeah, that was a shame.
Yeah.
We just touched on that. I want to bring this up, by the way, because last season in the League One we had quite a lot of problems with Rotherham fans. Though you could probably count 5 or 6 occasions, Danny, where there were issues with fan behaviour. Now, prior to the Cardiff, we all know the racist stuff that idiot posted on social media after the Cardiff game. But pre-Cardiff game, I've been quite proud of our fan behaviour this season. There's been no issues, no major issues anyway. You're always going to get disagreements between fans. Cardiff game completely ruined it because of one person that I can't use the word I want to use. But I think in general, I think our fans did a lot of credit for how, this sounds really sad really, but how well behaved we've all been for the last 10 months.
Yeah, we've certainly not seen any major issues come out of it, affecting like in the stadiums anyway. I mean, we saw against Julian, with all the fans scrapping in the middle. There went no for that really, with one going up and one going down. But I mean, even with this, or one team staying up, one team going down, I think Wigan bottled the protest a little bit. Which, if I'm being honest, I wanted to see. I wanted the fans to stand up for themselves. But in terms of our fans, yeah, we've behaved ourselves, like you say, other than the most polite way I can put it is degenerate, shall we say, who posted the racist stuff out. Other than him and the odd bit at Wigan, but with 4,500 there, they're going to come out of the woodwork a little bit. We're not all perfect like us three, are we? But as a whole, I think we've had a nice account of ourselves this season, which is great to see, because we are a small fan base by comparison to some other teams. So to have very little trouble, very nice. I mean, the Flares are a shame throwing them on the pitch.
The biggest issue with Flares were I shouldn't go on pitch, obviously. The biggest one was somebody thrown back at the stand and it landed in the middle of the fans. I mean, that really wound me up in the seat. Somebody throwing a seat from the back of the stands again into your own set of fans just proves that there's some lack of brain cells amongst the football fans, as we know there is, I suppose.
It weren't a school day, were it? They had a day off school and they didn't know what to do with themselves, some of them. So I know it's probably a controversial thing to say, and this is my own personal view. They're not flares. That's the first thing to say. I had a picture sent to us. In fact, we all had a picture sent to us last night, which I wish I could share. I don't know whether you're able to share it. Which was all flares in a football ground. However, these are not flares; they're just smoke bombs, aren't they, or whatever? And in my view, it adds a bit of atmosphere. It does. It genuinely does. And I don't think they're necessarily that dangerous, the smoke ones. It's the flares that are the issue. So, but throwing them on pitch, it just bizarre. But anyway, there you go.
Yeah. Sarah Ogden asked if anybody else's head was sore yesterday. I suspect there would have been a lot of sore heads on Tuesday morning. But like some of them, we've got to enjoy it. Our first time in 7 years, whatever it's been. I hope people have enjoyed it. YouTube rightly says it was like a pre-season game. John Morrell, Mick told you the beach was boring.
Yeah. We need boring. We needed boring, John, and I think it's going to do us all good just to have a. It just eases us into the closed season, doesn't it? Rather than.
That's the case with the beach, isn't it? Though, when you go on holiday, when you first get onto the beach, that's amazing. After like the 7th or 8th day of sitting on the beach, you want something to change. I think it's just like a holiday.
I suppose, yeah.
John Morrell says Mick liking pyrotechnics will make a Birmingham fan out of him yet.
Wrong colour, John. I'm sorry, mate. Just wrong colour.
Mark Gambles is with us this evening. Says good evening from Rotherham A&E. Bit of a drab ending to the roller coaster, but at least the yo-yo is broken up the Millers. Absolutely. I honestly, Danny, can't think of anything to talk about from the game itself, from the football. I'm really, really struggling to think of anything that actually happened of any note. The only thing I can think to say is that Victor Johansson once again showed his worth because he was sensational again.
Yeah, he was, and I think he was the deserved winner of man of the match. Because there were a couple saves in the second half that, were big saves. Wigan really had us under thumb a little bit. But Victor came to the rescue again, which is just standard procedure at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've had a few people message me that they'll be batting away of big bids with Victor as well, which is what Matt Taylor said anyway. He's sort of expecting big bids to come in. Now, a big bid for Rotherham United might not be a big bid for someone, say, of Stokes calibre, shall we say. But we're in the position to bat those bids away because Victor's here until, just check my contract sheet because I've done preparation for this podcast. Victor's with her until end of June 25, so it'd have to be a big bid for Victor, but I think he's going to stay, which is nice. I think the main talking point was the debut for Holvey against Wigan. I think that's the main thing we can talk about because he put himself about. To say he's a young lad who's come through the academy, he's put himself about, and I'm very impressed so far.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth mentioning. Joe Holvey made his debut 68 minutes, I think he came on, something like that. He got moved around a bit. Later than 81 minutes. He got moved around from left to right a little bit, Mick. But one of the things I always look for and a debut for any player, never mind a kid, is whether they actually want the ball or not. Whether they actually want it. You can tell when somebody pretends to want the ball.
Yeah.
This kid wanted that ball. He wanted to get the ball at his feet. Yeah, I mean, it didn't always work for him, but he always looking for that pass out wide. And he was up against James McLean, who is a very physical and a very clever player. That's very tough guy to come up against your debut, and he did fine. He didn't light the world up, but that's a very, very solid 10 minutes he's got under his back pocket.
Yeah, it is absolutely. It's an interesting lad. I mean, I know very little of him, but you look at, and I don't mean this to any detriment. You look at the size of him. The lad's tiny.
He's small, isn't he? Yeah. It looks like
not a big lad at all. Now, to be able to come through the ranks of professional football clubs at that size, at that height, he must have something. He clearly has. He's clearly a talented lad. His movement was very, very good, particularly against McLean. He was dropping short to get the ball, and it looks. You can't tell. Obviously, it's difficult to tell. Obviously, on a 9-minute debut in a pointless, meaningless game, but he didn't look out of his depth at all. We've seen players come on, through the academy and come on in Papa John's games and stuff like that, and they have looked kind of out of their depth a little bit. It's a big step up in it, from academy football to first team football. So it's not really unusual, but he just seemed to slot in quite well. So yeah, he looks a promising prospect.
Yeah, but despite we didn't see any more youngsters, Danny. But I suppose that's probably down to the fact that the game wasn't sealed. I think if we were 1 or 2-0 up, I think we probably would have seen Curtis DeRose or Hamish Douglas. Do you think that's probably why we didn't see any more of the Miller kids anymore of the other young ones, Danny?
I think with the younger players, I don't know, maybe Taylor favours Holvey because he's that more attacking-minded player, and he can sort of play across that attacking three. Because he started off on the left side, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
And then moved across to the right side and he was putting himself about a bit. And I suppose Douglas and who was the other one? Was it DeRose?
DeRose on the bench,
Yeah, they're more of your sitting deeper sort of players. So I don't think it really comes down to how the game was going and such. I think it was just the change that Taylor wanted to make. He wanted that extra attacking player, and Holvey was his man. I mean, I was quite impressed that we had that many youth players. Like, I know we have injuries and stuff, but to see that many youth players on the bench, just having the match day 18 experience, it'll have done great things for them because they've had youth loans through the season, which is completely different to being the team that you're contracted to in their match day 18 in the Championship. So it'll have done them good just to be there anyway. But for Holvey to come into it, it's such a special moment for him, isn't it? And who did he replace?
Hjelde.
Well, if there's anyone that's going to offer you a kind word going onto the pitch, it's the lad who's come through the Leeds system and on loan with us. Yeah. And then you're coming on for the team he's on loan at, who's not that much older than you anyway. So I'm sure Taylor didn't think of it as a support change of we'll take the young lad on loan off for our own young lad. But it couldn't have done it any harm either.
Yeah. 100%. So let's talk about this. We've got to talk about, is there anything else from the game as a whole that I've missed off before we start talking about just general Rotherham United post-season chit-chat?
One thing I would just... You just mentioned Leo Hjelde. He's obviously gone back to Leeds now. But the way he appears to have bought in to what's happening at the club is amazing. Whether that's just his personality, but he's living his best life, isn't he, that lad? He's absolutely the happiest bloke after Victor, probably. That I've seen on a football pitch. He absolutely loved it. The celebrations after, with staying up and everything else. He's involved with everybody. He is a quality lad. Over and above the fact that he's pretty decent at football as well. I'll be rooting for Leeds to stay up, if I'm honest with you, because I'd like to keep. Hey. Sorry. Yeah, dirty Leeds. Keep him in Premier League. Keep him out of our area, and we'll have Leo back to bulk him up for a full season.
I do like him. I do, but is he ready for a promotion push at a top-end Championship team? If they did come down, is he ready for that?
I thought you meant us then, Matt. Bloody hell.
Well, you never know. I don't think he's ready for the step up to the very top. So, we're talking Burnley and Sheffield United level of players. If Leeds come down, that's what they're aiming to be next season. Is he at that level? Yeah,
he is. Have you watched any games this season? You look at the quality.
I've seen a huge amount of mistakes from him.
Yeah, well, a few mistakes, not a huge. I think that's unfair. He's been pretty solid. He's made some immature mistakes, if you like.
Yeah.
But no more than probably anybody else in the squad, to be honest with you. With the probable exception of Victor, probably nobody else. So he's a quality player, and you look at the overall quality of this division. It's not going to change massively with the teams coming up and the teams that come down. It's going to be pretty much of a muchness. There'll be a couple of 3 teams who run away with it at the top, and everybody else will be, everybody else will be a goal scorer difference, won't they? You know what I mean? So he could cut it in this division, no problem whatsoever. Whether it be for Leeds, hopefully they stay up and he comes back out on loan again.
I don't hope Leeds stay up. I think this is market. If Leeds go now, it'll be a decent squad player for him. I can't see him starting most games. He's got such a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's there yet. But we'll see.
Which is why he needs to come back to us.
I agree. I think it'd be great for us if he came. But if he came out last year, I think we'd see a massive improvement. I think we'd see a huge step forward for him. That's wishful thinking, probably. Let's move on to players out of contract, Danny. This is from a Paul Davis article, which
I have my list.
And Danny's got a list. So there are several players out of contract, several players out of favour. So the players that are out of contract that I have, Danny, we've got Chio, Wes, Shane Ferguson, Josh Vickers, and Robbie Hemfrey.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else out of contract?
I've lost my pen. Hang on. So the players I've got out of contract is Harding, Wales, but year extension. Ogbeni, Ferguson, Peltier, Morrison, Hemfrey, Vickers, Warne, and Blackett. And then if you factor in players that we already know are leaving in Woody, which is a crying shame, but 9 great years. And then players returning at the end of the loan, we've got 17 out of 36 potentially leaving.
That's a lot.
So it's just under half.
Yeah, that's a lot. The reports are, Danny, that Chio's been offered the best we've got. Matt Taylor said as much in his post-match interview. Give me a scale of 1 to 10. How positive are you that? Give me what you hope, and give me what your head says without any bias.
Oh God, without any bias. I mean, now that we all know it's a little bit more public knowledge that Chio has been offered something. Yeah. He said to us after the Middlesbrough game that he was hoping to hear something by next week, and next week obviously being the Wigan game. So we've not really messed about. We've come in and put it straight on the table for him. And if it's the best we can offer, it's the best we can offer. Yeah. That's not going to stop anyone coming in and blowing us out the water, because sometimes that happens in football. It just depends on where Chio's head is. Like, does he want to further his career, or does he want to be somewhere where he's comfortable and knows he'll be playing his football regularly, barring injuries and stuff. And I think the certified thing for playing his football would be with us, because he was Barlas, for an example. He signed for Middlesbrough, a lot more money closer to home, but he's not starting as much as he did with Rotherham, because he was effectively our distribution in midfield. So he was like one of the first names on the team sheet. So it's like, would a team have a system that suited Chio? Still that striker's intent, but slightly wider field. Would that sort of team come in for him? There's a few questions that could be going around Chio's head. I don't think he'll sign it within the end of the month, probably. But if it's the best we can offer, my question is, what's the best we can offer? Because the best we could offer Smith and Inekwe, what was it, about 12-ish
kind of week, yeah.
Around 12, 13. Now, obviously with Taylor saying a few players are out of favour, that might lighten it a little bit. And with Tony saying that there's going to be a significantly higher amount of investment, take that as you will, boys and girls.
Talk about that more in a minute.
Yeah. So it's like, what is the very, very, very top limit that we could offer Chio? 15, potentially, which would be a huge increase on what he's on at the minute. But what's stopping a more money-orientated football club coming in and offering him 16? Yeah. I mean, taking me off my United glasses off, I think Chio would go and further his career somewhere, because he's at that age where he needs to further his career. But thinking of Chio the person and how much he does love this football club and people at this club and effectively playing his football here, I could see him, I'll put my rose tinted glasses on, could see him signing a new deal. And I think if he does sign a new deal, there needs to be street parties and, big long tails. Everything. Pull out the bunting, Irish flag bunting and everything, just for Chio re-signing. But I'm still 50-50 with it. If he signs, fantastic. If not, he'll go with our best wishes.
Yeah. No, I agree. You look at the January interest, Mick, and that's what talks a lot to me about the teams that were interested in him. And Millwall missed out on the playoffs because of a hilarious collapse. So they were in for him. They reportedly were in for him in the summer. So they could be a very attractive destination for him. It's in the capital. You know, he might fancy living in it. Fancy living in the big city. There was also Swansea, which is less of a big city, but still. But neither of those offer stupid money. You know, Millwall are not going to offer Gio 25 grand a week. Swansea are not going to offer him 25 grand a week, or 30 grand a week. That's just not the clubs that they are. They're much more prudently than other clubs. Now there is talk of him potentially going abroad. I don't know where that's come from, to be honest with you. That seems a bit left field for me, to be honest with you. And it's also worth bearing in mind he could have been talking to clubs from abroad already, because they could have talked from January onwards. So it could have already had these talks. But those January interest felt underwhelming for me. If I put my Chio hat on, I'm a bit underwhelmed by those offers, to be honest with you. If we can offer good money, not amazing money, but good money, 15 grand's going to be competitive if we were to pick a random number out of the air, isn't it?
It's a futile amount of money, isn't it? Can you actually imagine that amount of money? It's just, it doesn't make, anyway, whatever. I mean, if you're a footballer and you've got Swansea and Millwall coming in for you, and you're looking for a big move, that neither of those are big moves, with the greatest respect to both those clubs. You know, they're hardly glamorous clubs. They're a little more glamorous than we are. You know what I mean? Swansea are on their way down from that sort of Premier League high. They're trying to consolidate back in the Championship, and I'm sure they'll do very well, and I'm sure they'll move on. But they've got their financial issues that they're trying to surmount now. They've lost all the parachute payments and what have you. The word glamour and Millwall, those two are never used in the same sentence anyway, other than the sentence that I've just used to say that they're never used together. You know what I mean? And again, Millwall, whilst they're not a profitable club, they're not neither are they a big spending club. So, you know, the wages that both those teams are going to offer, I would argue, will probably be comparable to, give or take, the biggest offer that we're capable of giving. So it's down to Chio, isn't it? If he's happy where he is, I possibly could see him signing and then moving on, to be honest. You know, maybe have another season here and then move on. I don't know. We'll see. It's up to him. If, as Danny says, if he stays, great. If he doesn't, he goes with our best wishes. He's been a hell of a character and a really good player for us. So we'll have to wait and see. Won't we?
Yeah. Joel says I think it's the natural progression of him moving on. Could see something like Norwich, Watford, any of the three losing playoffs for him. He's a great free player on the way up. He is, but he's older. I think he's older than we all sort of think. Is he 27 now, or is he younger than that?
He's coming into his peak.
So it's not like he's 24.
No.
26.
He's coming to his peak. Yeah. So we'll see, won't we? Let's wait and see. We're already into daft speculation times, aren't we? And the season's not finished yet.
Yeah.
Madness.
Yeah.
I don't think I can take 2 months of this, Matt.
Get ready, because it's only get ready, because that brings on Tony Stewart, doesn't it? Really. Tony Stewart has basically said there is going to be significant investment in the football club this summer. That is on wages. So apparently, there's also going to be potentially significant investment in the training structures as well, which I think would be a bigger step forward possibly than the players. Danny, what does significant now? We mentioned this in our private chat earlier. Significant investment to me is different when it is to you, to Mick, to Michael in the comments, to Tony, to Matt Taylor. For you, is significant investment just massively up in the doubling the wage, was it as a random number, or is it buying 5 players for combined £5 million? What does your significant investment look like?
I mean, significant investment, I believe, is already happening at the training grounds, which is something Matt Taylor has stressed about, because a lot of our injuries have come from the pitch being too soft. I think it was. I'm inclined to agree after working there, if I'm being honest, but don't tell anybody. And it floods very easily as well. But and I think he wants an extra pitch as well at Roundwood just to like spread out the workload a little bit. But anyway, so that's already significant investment because we've not really seen a huge amount of investment in the training facilities other than the time we bought that bit of land over in Tinsley and then did nothing with it. So to have that element, it's like, oh, okay, so we're beefing up the training ground to be quote unquote championship quality. Which, yeah, I agree. I think we need. But even with that, Taylor's promised, well, not really promised, but said that we can expect quality that no one will expect. So it's a bit, where are we going with that? You know, is that quality from the continent that no one expects because, you know, we found them and they've not looked there? Is it people, you know, like Morrison's apparently been offered a new deal, and that's in the advertiser as well. You know, the season heads in the championship, no one might expect Morrison to re-sign. Taking a bit of a risk with his injury, fair enough. But I think significant investment with Tony isn't really forking out millions for one player. I think it's more of a case of cobbling it together. And look, for example, in the January window, you know, I think for that's moving in the direction of where he wants to take us, you know, listening to Taylor because Taylor's got the vision of what he wants. And Taylor's just said, and Tony's there to go, yeah, we'll do that. You know, like the signing of Jordan Hugel, for example, you know, that's for Rotherham, that's a big signing to get him on a three and a half year contract.
Basically,
is it? 2026, yeah. So 3.5 year contract. That's big investment in a player of Hugel's, experience. So it could be things like that. We might see the paid for budget get broken, but our paid for record is about 600,000. So won't take much to break that. I don't think we'll see Rotherham's first £1 million paid for player, but you never know. But put it this way, Tony's making the right noises to show that he's committed to Matt Taylor and Taylor's vision, which is what I like to hear. And now that we've stayed in the championship and we've got a manager with a positive outlook, you know, we could see some big signings that are more quality than what we used to. And I was saying this to a few people before, I'm really excited about this summer window just to see what we do. Because anything could happen now.
Yeah, there does seem to be an air of excitement, Mick, and this is not going to help the air of excitement, to be honest. This is not going to dampen it down, what Tony's saying now. How do you see it? I mean, Matt Taylor's in charge of this budget, which is interesting. It's first proper Rotherham budget, really. He seems more... I don't really know what the word is, but he seems he's willing to push it out as much as he can. Where I think the previous manager was like to play well within it and keep the squad small. Matt Taylor doesn't seem to want to do that. He seems to want to bring in the sort of proven championship players, which is something Tony Stewart's mentioned of as well. We're going to need lots of players this summer. We might need 10 or so signs anyway, so it's going to be a busy summer. What are your thoughts on just the potential of significant investment?
You think Tony had learned, wouldn't you? Not to spout this off every close season. It's different. This season is different.
Yeah, it is.
And it's different because, in my view, anyway, we've managed to survive in the championship, I think, twice before in recent years. Once under Steve Evans and once under Neil Warnock. When we survived under Steve Evans, there was no way that we had the manager that was going to push us on from anywhere else other than fighting in that bottom four. That was Steve Evans' peak, absolute peak as a manager. And as he's proving now, you know, he's quality down in those lower leagues. But when you start fighting with the big boys, it was never going to happen. And I think Tony Stewart recognised that pretty early on. And given the amount of money we spent on loan players under Steve Evans, we don't know what the investment was, but the loan system's changed since then. And, you know, it's just not going to... It was never going to happen. We survived under Neil Warnock, and at the end of the season, we didn't have a manager. So you could invest all you want, but if you haven't got a proper manager in place, and we all know how that went. So this is the first opportunity where we can end a season with a manager in place in the same league, in the championship, with a manager in place who's looking to and looking to move the club forward and who the chairman thinks is capable of moving the club forward, the team forward, sorry. So it is slightly different, I think, in my view. Whether he does decide to invest the money that we've got for staying up, plus a little bit more, given that staying up next season will give us an even bigger payday because of the new Sky deal, remains to be seen. Like John said in the comments, it depends on what your interpretation of significance is, isn't it? And from a Rotherham United point of view, significance is if we paid £1 million for a player, that would be massive for Rotherham United. If Birmingham or Swansea or Millwall paid £1 million for a player, nobody would bat an eyelid, or the fan base of those respective clubs would bat an eyelid. So we'll have to wait and see. We know what's going to happen over the next couple of months. Fans are going to start wetting themselves every 2 minutes when a name is mentioned, and then it's just going to go off radar again, and then we're going to go through a phase that Tony Stewart won't put his hand in his pocket, and we're all going to go down, and the world's going to end, and then we can start wetting ourselves again when another player gets mentioned, and we're just going to go through that cycle now for 2 or 3 months. So I don't know, and none of us know, and none of us will know until the squad come back for pre-season exactly where we're going to stand. But all we're going to be able to do now, from now on, is speculate, and it's whether you want to drop down on the positive side of it and say that Matt Taylor, Rob Scott are going to get their heads down and bring in some quality, whether it be paid for or otherwise. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Sarah Ogden puts it how I should have put it. Taylor, for me, seems to know what he wants already.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. He knows exactly what he wants, and he doesn't really care. Say he doesn't care, I think it may be wrong, but he doesn't matter what he needs to do. If he wants to get those players or get this done, he'll just go and get it done. If it upsets a couple of people, I don't think I think the cost is worth the damage, if that sort of makes sense. Which is one of the things I really like about him. I was so impressed with that January transfer window. So impressed with the players that he brought in. Some of them didn't work out because of injuries, but he had to take the risk at the time. Now he can still bring in players of similar quality and similar financial benefit or financial cost, sorry. But he's got time to think about it. He hasn't got to buy, the player who's not played for a year because he's been injured or whatever. Danny, we talked about Sean Morrison. That could potentially be a significant investment if he does stay. I can't remember if we mentioned this on the podcast or not, but I think Sean Morrison is the replacement for would be an ideal replacement for Richard Wood. It gives you that leadership quality. It gives you that physicality. There's so much to like about Sean Morrison. If you can keep him, that's a bit of a statement re-signing for me if you would manage to keep him.
Yeah, the only worry for me would be his recurring injury. He had that big injury at Cardiff, and I think he only made like 2 appearances for us before going out again. But he looked good in those 2 appearances. I know it's only 180 minutes of football, but he looked good with it. I think that's probably why. Paul Davis mentions it briefly in the article about it potentially being a pay-as-you-play sort of deal, which could be very, very lucrative for him if he manages to stay fit for a season. I don't think he will. But if he could manage, 20, 25 appearances in a season, someone of that calibre who's a leader on the pitch and in the dressing room, like I say, effectively a younger version of Richard Wood, it'd still be a real asset, because even the games that he's out, it could be leading in the dressing room. And the games that he's in, he'll be leading from the back line. But yeah, a player of Morrison's experience at a club of our size, shall we say, will be a real big signing if we can re-sign him. My only worry is his injury, and I really hope that doesn't hinder him whilst he's here, and also hinder us as well. Because we saw that we had to bring in Bailey Wright, then when he got injured, we had to bring in Blackett, so that's... Yeah. And then Blackett got injured, and it's like, oh, dearie me. But at least Taylor's not afraid to pull the trigger when we need a replacement. I suppose that's good. But yeah, if Morrison can stay fit, real asset to us.
Prior to his major injury at Cardiff, he wasn't injury prone. He played most games of most seasons. Whether he's now turned a corner He's only still 32, 33, so he's not exactly old. Look how long he's played for. Mick, him and Grant Hall, I suppose, the two that have been with us short term and that are both available and both sort of made noises that they could be interested in staying, but they both have their injury problems.
Yeah, they do. And maybe Matt Taylor would be mercenary enough to think, well, if that's the case, we need to be looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to be hard nosed about it, then that's got to be the first thought that comes to mind. I don't want players that are going to be out for 25, 30, 40% of the season, but potentially. I'm paying them daft money. I don't know how this pay as you play thing would ever work. I mean, it just seems a bizarre suggestion to me. What happens if Matt Taylor decides not to play him then? Well, if you don't play him, you don't get paid. I mean, it opens up a can of worms of just unnecessary proportions, doesn't it? Really. So
it's one of those that you could say, let's use an argument. You say, right, we're going to sign a pay as you play contract. And if things go well in December, because he's played 20 games in December, he's right, we'll just extend your contract for a permanent contract for a full time. He needs to justify that is qualified. Essentially qualifies for a long term contract, doesn't he?
Well, not really.
Anywhere, not just to us. Anywhere.
Yeah, and he'll get paid somewhere else. So, why would you? Well, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, that's it's irrelevant. Again, it's more speculation, and it's just nonsense. But that's ultimately that is the kind of player, that type of player is who we need to be looking for. Obviously, we need a replacement for Woody, so it needs to be that kind of player, whether it's one of those two or another. Matt Taylor, I'm sure, will be looking, because that is an area we need to strengthen given the injuries that we've had this season in that department. And we've only got Cam Humphreys in reality, as a Rotherham United player. So he's got some work to do.
The areas for strengthening are very clear, Danny. There's centre half, there's left back because we've got Cohen Bramwell. That's it. And also right back situation. Now we don't know what's going to happen with Wes Harden. I think it's the right time for Wes to go, to be honest with you. I think now is a good time of parting the ways. I think it's time for him to possibly move on. There's reports that Kyoso maybe let go, or you're told he can find another club. So essentially saying we need a lot of centre-backs and a lot of right-backs and a left-back. That's a lot already before we even talk about any strikers we need and midfielders we need.
Yeah, it is. Which is one of the things that slightly worries me. Like, I know there are a few names that they might be getting told that they can leave, but it worries me because of the turnover. I think that's more of the worry for me. I think in terms of the quality that we need, probably there is the argument that we're lacking a little bit. So I can understand it, but it's like, is it too much, too quick? Like Kyoso might not move on, for it, just to use him as an example. He might not move on, and he might be a bit of a in and out sort of player, but can still contribute, which I'm sure he didn't sign on for, but would still benefit us. And to be brutally honest, we need the players that can benefit us more than them. That makes sense. But it's such a complicated dance now. We're in the summer, but I think it is quite clear that Taylor's got a vision, and he's rooted in that vision. And if that vision's potentially getting rid of 12 players, 15 players potentially, before we talk about the players that we want to keep on, it's a bit of we've got the backup for it. But, that's why I'm excited about the window. I go back to that. I'm excited about the window because I just want to see where it takes us now.
This is the most exciting time as a football fan because the possibilities are almost endless. It's so exciting because you've got this many people that are released from the football clubs. There's got these teams that have not gone up, so their players might be for sale. We're staying up. It is exciting. Mick, did you roll your eyes at the Peter Kyoso?
Yeah. Why you'd get rid of Peter Kyoso is beyond me, but he has been out injured a lot, so perhaps that might be the issue. Maybe he's just made of glass, as you like to say, and he crumbles every 3 games or whatever. So other than that, I can't think why you would ever want to get rid of him. To be honest, he's a hell of a player and more than capable of performing at this level. So, but anyway, whatever. I'd not anticipated this podcast going in this direction, to be honest. Otherwise, I'd I'd have done some more research.
You did watch the Wigan game on Monday, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, I was there.
Carl Scott's mentions Daniel Ayala has been linked with us. You would hate Daniel Ayala, Mick. You would absolutely hate Daniel Ayala.
Why has he got lovely white teeth and smooth hair?
He's just one of those that throws himself around. He's a centre half who throws himself around a lot.
I'm not interested. Then get rid of him.
I'm not sure. I have seen that link, and again, I think he's at the wrong end of his career. He was excellent for Borough back in day.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's the right fit for us right now. But if we're saying we need a leader, maybe I don't know.
I mean, Leicester might be coming down. They've got a centre half that they paid a load of money for. Might could have him.
Yeah, wage demands as well. Wage demands. Yeah, Daniel Ayala was on a lot at Borough, and then he went to Blackburn. I think he was on a decent amount there.
Yeah, well.
Millie said, "Just don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot shoot ourselves in the door and struggle to get people in to replace the quality with what we have let go." Yeah, I suppose that is true, Danny. But at the same time, let's be mercenary about it. Let's take our heads up, take the Rotherham hats off. This team's only just stayed up, and from where we were, that is an amazing achievement. But if we want to step forward into a different position in the league, there is a deadwood's not the right word, but people who are maybe not as good as we want them to be, we need to improve. We've got to take a risk and improve this squad.
Yeah, we do. If we want to move effectively up in the world, shall we say, and up in the championship, we do need to bring in the improvements. And unfortunately, it goes back to what Paul Warne said. He don't want to bring in players that, are at our level. He wants to bring in players that he thinks will improve the squad. And I think Taylor's probably got that mindset, as most football managers do, probably. But yeah, we just need to keep stepping up. And I think the achievement of staying up this season is so big that some players will go, they're moving up now. And we might be a bit more, attractive to some players, because it's not like we've stayed up by a whisker. It's not like exactly. It's not like we stayed up on goal difference. In terms of points, we've stayed up by a fair bit. In terms of what you could have won if you hadn't cheated, we've still stayed up of our own accord. So that could make us more attractive, and I think it makes us more attractive to some players who will be offered new deals as well, because we may have broken the cycle of up and down. So yeah, exciting times, but also stressy times.
Very much so. Yeah. John Morell says, can't afford to stand still. Blackpool, a perfect example. Yeah, exactly right. Got to at least try and move forward. If the wrist don't work, it doesn't work. Well, you've got to try. At least try. We
could always stand still and bring Mick McCarthy in.
Yeah, to that.
Or Big Sam. But
he's better than some other lot, better than Pepper, that I've heard.
But who told you that?
John mentions about Valerian Ishmael has been appointed Watford manager. I'll be honest with you.
Count as this season?
No, well, it wouldn't technically no, but I think he's probably took the job at the wrong time, because he's took it in May. They don't play till August, so by the time they play again, he'll be out of a job.
Yeah, he'll have been sacked. He'll have been sacked before he even get back in training. What is he doing?
When they realise that he hasn't made playoffs this season, he'll be out the door. He'll be done.
To be fair, he's thinking, innit? He can be manager of Watford, never have to do any work and get a payoff. He doesn't even have to bring players in. He's going to be out of a job in 4 weeks, 5 weeks. They won't have even set foot on training ground. Clever lad. You can tell he's from Barnsley. He's obviously got some of that Yorkshire's rubbed off him, right? John Wells give us some. Ian Bradley says give us some. He's gone best. He's going to be best moments of the season. In English, Matt. In English.
All right, chill out. So the best game was Burnley at home. Best goal Rathbone at home. Worst performance Luton at home. Best away performance was Luton was Luton. Best away player was Lockyer by Luton. Best home performance Blackburn. Best home atmosphere Borough. I don't disagree with most of that. We will be doing our award show. Let's lock that in now, shall we?
Yes.
Next Sunday the 21st, will be our live black tie event award show, 4th annual award show.
Is it really?
Yeah, it was the first one that was in lockdown. That's why we did it at black tie event, because we want to feel fancy in lockdown, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this will be the 4th annual black tie 4th end of season award. So next Sunday, get dressed up, get dressed at home, because why not? Get your fancy glasses out. I need to order some gold envelopes so the awards can come out in the right manner, and we'll have a good laugh next Sunday. Next Thursday, we will be revealing our truly terrible preseason predictions. I've had a glance over them to put them in sort of a fancy looking thing for social media, and they are terrible. They are some of the worst predictions you could possibly imagine. The sort of spoiler I'll give you is that Tom Eve's name appears in many of those predictions.
Oh dear.
So yeah, that's what to expect. That'll be next Thursday. That comes up in, so do join us for that one.
I was just going to say we are hoping to have something quite special for the awards show as well.
We are. We've got something planned up for an interlude at some point during. Let's mix it up a bit. It's not looking at our daft faces. Richard Wood. Let's finish. Maybe not finish the show, but let's finish the season by talking about Richard Wood, Danny. It's official now. He is leaving the football club. Again, it's probably the right time. Taking that Robin Knight hat off, it's probably the right time. He's had a great end to the season. He has been here 9 years. He's been such a servant to the club, and probably the best captain we've ever had and may ever have. And he will go on to play somewhere else. That's for me. That's great news. I want to see Richard Wood playing on a football pitch. I just enjoy watching him. Yeah.
Today he got back in the team due to the injuries that we suffered. I'm glad he did. But it's just a solid presence at the back. Like we sort of saw where his career was against Middlesbrough, where he effectively got old man, but he still recovered. So I think that's it's quite fitting of where he is. He's at that point in his career, but he's still committed to the team, to where he busts a gut and still clears it off the line. But yeah, I agree. I think it feels like the right time, but I would have loved another year.
Yeah.
No, I would have loved another year to get him over the 10 years. I mean, can we make an exception of a testimonial for 9 years? Maybe not. It's nice to see that Taylor mentioned my suggestion of renaming the North Stand after him. That were good. That got in on one of his interviews. But yeah, to see Woody carrying on playing, I think is the best course of action, because I don't want to see him retire yet. I think he's still got plenty to give another team. A lot of people said Donny, and that's popped up. A few people have had crystal balls out and said Doncaster before we even knew Woody was officially leaving, which is which is spooky. But yeah, to see him somewhere like Doncaster, like I said, or Harrogate, for example, just to see him carrying on playing where there isn't as much worry, but he can still contribute massively to that team setup, is the sort of thing that we want to see Woody in, the contributing role. The still playing role, and Taylor hasn't ruled out him coming back in a coaching role either when he does finish him playing, whether that's after next year, after 2 years, whenever. So it's nice that door's still open for him. And if I'm being honest, I could see him coming back. I think the fans would love him to see him in the dugout. I said it on Twitter. He's effectively Rotherham's Roy Kent, but slightly nicer.
Less swearing.
Yeah, as far as we know, it's less swearing in public anyway.
Yeah, we've spoken a few times on the podcast. They seem like the nicest guy in the world, doesn't he, Richard Wood? Sarah Ogden's still effective, but maybe not in the Championship. Yes. John Morel says player coach at Derby, nailed on. Maybe. Carl Scott off to Donny. YouTube says maybe player manager at Donny. Would have done it on a 1-year playing contract. Ian Bradley says for the situation that they're in, Mick, on the potential rebuild with Grant McCann coming back in. And I know it's easy for us to look in from the outside, but that's a great base to build your rebirth, which is what Donny are going to be trying to do from next season. you get something like Richard Wood to be the new leader, and because he'll just drag players up. He's just that type of player. He is able to drag players up a level, and certainly at League Two would do that.
Oh, he did walk it, literally walk it, wouldn't it? Well, he would, So I didn't know that. I heard they'd got an interest in bringing Grant McCann back. I didn't know whether that's official.
Not
done, but I found it quite curious that Danny Schofield was sacked, and I think probably the same day it was announced that Richard Wood were not going to be playing for us anymore. Seemed a little bit of a coincidence to me, but there you go. I can see Donny being a move for Woody, and it'd be great for him. It'd be great for Doncaster, which we want. I want anyway. I don't want Donny down in League Two. They shouldn't be down there, and hopefully they can get themselves sorted financially, which I think is probably what the owners there are trying to do. It feels like it, looking at with a little that we know from the outside. So, I think it'd be a good move for him if Chesterfield managed to get through Notts County, which I doubt. But if they do, then that might also be a decent move for him. So, whatever Richard Wood wants in terms of whether he wants to play or coach, then I hope he gets it because he deserves it.
Absolutely, it does. And if he goes to Donny, we might play them in a pre-season friendly.
Yeah,
like an unofficial testimonial type thing.
Bang on, like what you're thinking there, Matt.
Yeah.
Email Sam Todd, tell him. He might get organised.
I don't think he organises pre-season friendlies, to be honest.
Oh, right. Okay. Email Matt Taylor then. You spoke to him the other day. He gave him a shirt. He's your mate now.
He owes us one.
Yeah, he owes us,
yeah. We will talk about the championship. It's almost complete, isn't it, the championship? We know who's gone up. We know who's gone down. There's one team to come up from League One. There's 3 teams to stay in the playoffs and 3 teams to come down from the Premier League. Probably, Southampton plus 2 others. It appears to be the stage. Just initially, Danny, we're going to wrap up. We managed to get an hour out of this episode, which I am hugely impressed with. The championship next season, it's not complete. We know it's not complete yet. But how do you feel about it? The sides coming up look strong, pretty strong. Certainly Ipswich will. Teams coming down, we don't know. What are your thoughts on just the general championship? It will be harder next season, or certainly better quality, I think, anyway.
Yeah, especially like I say with Ipswich coming up, they do look strong. The amount of goals they scored last season is incredible. But teams coming up who have done well in League One, bar Sunderland, could be argued they struggled with the championship's quality. I mean, depending on who comes down from the Premier League and who stays down from the playoffs, you could argue the championship is sort of petered out. Like it got to our level, then petered a bit. I think if Wednesday come up, they make it an harder division.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Early prediction: Ipswich might finish the higher of the promoted teams. I don't think they'll do a Sunderland. Good God, no. But they might finish 15th or so. So yeah, it's going to be an harder division, but. From the noises that the club's making early on, we could be in a good position to compete with it. And again, it all comes down to I'm excited about the summer window. I'm going to be keeping an eye on who comes into our division, and we go again. Some of the teams we've played already, and we competed with them quite well. Main example being Swansea. I think we competed really well with Swansea. They're still here next season, so who knows? It could be a season where Rotherham move up again.
It could.
Not leagues. Could like don't take that out of context. Someone will clip that. I mean, move up position. We might actually achieve my prediction of 16th.
We've got rid of one of the teams who are badly mismanaged, making Reading. They're the team that's perennial struggles because of the financial mismanagement. Cardiff are still expected to have some major issues. I think they're still under a transfer embargo for at least the summer window. But that's really it. Birmingham, John mentioned in the comments earlier, Birmingham look like their takeover from some American guys going through, which is great news for them after the disaster show of the ownership they've had in the past. The badly run teams feel like they've been slowly weeded out. Wigan's another one, sadly, for them, which is why it probably makes it a harder league because you haven't got us, Reading and Birmingham as an example. There were 3 teams at the start of the season who were going to be rubbish. You haven't got those. Obviously, we'll be 24th at everybody's predictions, as Ian put.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's no obvious, well, they're going to be in serious bother next year for me, I don't think.
I don't know. We don't know what's going off behind the scenes at a lot of clubs, like you said, Cardiff, for example, are one. Ipswich has spent, I don't know, how long have they spent in League One?
3 years?
3 or 4 years, whatever it is. They spent all those years overspending in League One. As you know, as we know, and as their supporters know as well. So there's no doubt whatsoever when they come up, they'll overspend again. No question about that. So I just keep an eye on Ipswich in terms of the financial side of stuff. We don't need to be worrying about other clubs, do we? We need to be worrying about ourselves. Just let's worry about ourselves. Move on from everybody else.
Carl Scott, QPR will struggle badly. Hope so. Not going against QPR fans, but I feel like I need to be justified about Gareth Ainsworth, to be honest with you.
Fair enough.
So we'll see on that one. Anything else?
No.
Good stuff.
Shall we do the early predictions who we're going to think's going to win the League One playoff?
We could do what you want. Who's winning League One? Who's winning Championship? They're the two that impact us. We'll do League One first, Danny. Wednesday, Barnsley, Bolton, Peterborough.
I really hope it's Wednesday, Barnsley in final. That'd be a cracking final to watch. But out of all of them, I'd say Barnsley are the ones with the playoff experience. I say that historically, anyway. So I think Barnsley's going to go up through playoffs, if I'm being honest.
I'd prefer Barnsley to go up.
Which would mean Barnsley would have won the most League One playoffs out of all the teams in South Yorkshire, I think. So
possibly
the one team that might get a leg up on us. Ooh, interesting.
The problem is the Championship's not big enough for Wednesday. They keep telling everybody that. We know the Championship is not big enough for Ian Everett's ego at Bolton, which is a big problem. And it's barely big enough for Darren McAnthony's ego from Peterborough as well. So there's some logistics we've got to get around in terms of fitting, at least one of those teams in this division, Mick. John Morrell says Bolton and Borough. I could see Bolton doing it as well. I think I don't want to see Ian Everett succeed. I don't want to see him in the Championship. I don't want to face him again because I just don't like him. But I could see Bolton doing a job on both Barnsley and Wednesday.
Best team in the league.
Yeah.
Bolton. Barnsley for me. I know that, like John's just put there, the form's dropped off a little bit recently. However, I can see Barnsley. I can see Barnsley doing it. They'll turn Wednesday over, no problem, in my view. So yeah, Barnsley for me.
Okay, fair enough. The Championship playoff was hilarious on the final day. That was more entertaining watching the scores come in on my phone than watching the Rotherham Wigan game. That one is Luton against Sunderland, I think, and Middlesbrough against Coventry. That's right. That's how it ended up. Can we just point out, by the way, that we came up with Coventry, who are now in the playoffs, and we came up with Sunderland, who are now in the playoffs. Madness. Our turn next year, yeah, definitely. Danny, which one of those four are you picking?
I mean, for football stories, like in terms of consecutive promotions, probably Sunderland. And can we have a season where we don't have to play them? Like, I'm sick to death of that away end.
We need to play them on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, true. I mean, in terms of how much they've rattled Premier League fans, I'm going to have to say Luton, because I know Kenilworth Road needs a lot of improving doing to it. I think Luton would have to spend, 10 million-ish doing up the stadium. But just for the pure confusion of Premier League fans having to go through someone's back garden to get to a stadium, I want Luton to go up. But then I also want Middlesbrough to go up because we might get Barlessa back on loan.
Yeah, that's true. But I based on what I've seen, it's Luton. I was impressed with them. At our place, they were so efficient at what they did. They just took it. They took the game apart. They didn't necessarily batter us. They just took the game apart so we couldn't play it anymore. And I think that's what they'll do to every good team. And also, it's a great
game
story.
management. Story. The story's incredible, and Luton's game management's incredible as well. I mean, on Sky they said about Burnley being the best footballing sides in the second tier. I mean, for me, Luton's the best football team
Yeah,
in the division, and I think they'll just take a team apart. I'll say this, and they'll lose to Sunderland now, but yeah, I'd like to see Luton back in Premier League, from National League to Premier League, with one player going all the way with them. That's a proper story.
Yeah. John Morell says Barnsley and Rotherham can't coexist in the Championship. We should know that by now. Kim says Luton. Carl says Luton. John Morell can't stand Luton. Send them back to League Two. Mick, based on what we've seen this season as well, but bear in mind we've not conceded to Borough this season. So
I still think Borough.
Yeah.
I still think Michael Carrick's Borough will do it. I think they've probably been sandbagging now for a few weeks, just getting themselves into right space. I think Borough will do it. I think they've probably just got too much class for Luton. But if it's not Borough, I want it to be Luton.
Yeah.
I've no desire to see Sunderland go up. I'd sooner see them playing in an half-empty stadium because they've lost 3 games rather than go up into Premier League. That's my view. I'm a bit cynical out of that, and a bit sort of a bit tongue-in-cheek, but you know what I mean. So yeah, and Coventry, I don't care. I couldn't care less about Coventry, to be honest with you.
Mark Robbins.
Sorry.
Mark Robbins as Coventry City.
Yeah. I don't mean that in a nasty way. I don't mean. I just don't care. I'd like to see Borough do it. I don't know why I've got a soft spot for Borough. I just have.
We've got all our players.
Well, there's the Barlaser side of it, but it's just they're the kind of the small club of the Northeast, aren't they? You know what I mean?
I suppose they are, yeah.
You know, they're competing with the likes of Newcastle and Berwick and Darlington.
Hartlepool.
Hartlepool, exactly. You know, so
I don't know how much money we'd get from Borough. If Borough went up, it'd be over £1 million. I think we'd probably get.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Crooks and Barlaser deal, I think.
Or they could just send him back.
Both. Both.
Free down Barlaser, that's what I say.
Dan Barlaser to Scott winner at playoff final. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Against Sunderland.
Oh my God, against Sunderland.
Because that's possible. Borough against Sunderland at final, and it's Barlaser who scored the winner.
Oh my word.
Oh, Danny, you've set it up now. I'm sorry, Liverpool fans. I don't want you to go up anymore.
Have I written somewhere?
Against Sunderland.
That would be a fairy tale for the Barlaser family.
I think it would. Brilliant. Right. I don't think we're going to be doing an episode on Sunday. I think it's very, very unlikely. We are basically away for the weekend.
Are you sure?
I think it's unlikely that we will do an episode Sunday. We have plans for the weekend, which I don't think we'll be in a state to do anything on Sunday evening. So we get a weekend off. You all get a weekend off from us, but then we come back. We come back to finish off properly strong. Well, we think strong. Well, we come back to finish off with the episode. You what?
Finish off stronger.
Stronger, correct. Stronger.
Yeah.
We've got the prediction reveal next Thursday. Lewis is joining us for that one because he did pre-season predictions. We'll try and get Kev to be with us as well because he gave us some pre-season predictions. And we'll hopefully have a laugh. The next week on Sunday, is the end of season awards. Get your best suits, ties, ball gowns on, because we'll have a barrel of laughs for that one. We want to mention. I said we're going to finish, but it's going to take me a few minutes to do a few thank yous. So first of all, we need to thank Matt Tiller for the shirt, for allowing to give us a shirt. We need to say well done to the winner. Service wrong. Adam Morton won the shirt, yeah, and got packed by the club. We've raised over £100 for the hospice just for people that went into the raffle. It's gone into our midnight memory walk fundraiser. If you want to get involved in that and sponsor us for the Midnight Memory Walk, that is going across the tagline on the YouTube channel at the bottom. I'll tweet some out as well for that. We've ambitiously set ourselves £1,000 to raise. And if we get £1,000, Mick's going to do the Memory Midnight Walk in full kit, full of United.
Wait, no. We all agreed in the green room that we were all going to do it if we got to 1,000.
We'll probably all do it in full kit. And midnight walk in full kit. If we get to £1,000, that's a big ask, I think. but who knows? We might get there.
Right. No. I put the challenge out. Let's get us to 1,000 subscribers, and I'll eat the fish in Sweden, which is booked in, by the way. And everybody absolutely smashed that. Rather annoyingly, they all smashed it. But with this, you'll get to see, pictures. I might do a video on the midnight walk of us all in full kit and everything. But you get to see, yes, exactly, John. But you get to see Matt, Mick, and me all in full kit. We tried to get Ben to do his NFL kit, but I don't think they'll let him take it home because it's too big.
No.
But full football kits, we've decided against boots because it'd hurt her feet. But everything else, full kit. We'll get Mick wearing captain's armband and everything.
It's the C stands for creative director this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to go with that then.
But yeah, £1,000, all three of us in full kit, walking through Rotherham, doing 10k is the one that we're doing, is it?
15.
Something like that, the big one.
15? Good grief.
15k, mate.
Good grief. Anyway, doing 15k in a full kit, walking through Rotherham at night, that'll be a sight, won't it?
Yeah. Kimbo Sports are still selling the shirts. So if you want to buy a Matt Taylor shirt with all the proceeds going to the Rotherham Hospice, you can do. I know people have bought this shirt, and I don't know who you are, but I love you. You are my favourite people. If you bought a Matt Taylor shirt, Hawaiian shirt, you are my kind of person. So well done. Very, very well done. And it's to a great cause as well, which you can still get those on Kimbo Sports website if you are mad enough. And if you have got one, let me know when you're going to wear it. We'll all wear it like a pre-season game. We'll be like 15, 20 people in Hawaiian shirts with Matt Taylor's face all over it. It'll be brilliant.
Should we all just rock up to Park Gate in Matt Taylor Hawaiian shirts, including so. Matt Taylor?
Yeah, exactly. He's too professional, to be fair, to wear it for a game. Sadly. Anything else that I need to say thank you, or anything else I need to let people know of?
No. You're going on and on. I don't know what's up with you, man. Shut up.
Well, we had a lot to talk about, didn't we?
No.
Didn't we?
No.
I think I've covered just about everything.
Yeah.
All the notices. So yeah, thank you everybody who's joined us this season. It's been a barrel last letter. We're not finished yet, so we'll not get all soppy just yet. But yeah, we will be back next Thursday in a week's time. There may well be content out before then. For one reason or another, keep your eyes out. Subscribe to YouTube channel if you haven't already, because there may or may not be some stuff that we pop out over the early next week, hopefully. So yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you, Mick. I think we've done 12 minutes. I know you've got something to do with it at this point, so thank you very much. John Morrell asked when the hat's available. Email Kimbo, ask them. I've got some red ones. And Mike Miller says, hope the awards contain a top ref of the year.
Yes.
We'll have to try and find one. I don't know if we can. We'll try and find a good one. Danny, thank you for being with us tonight. And I'll see you all shortly.
Yeah, always a pleasure, lads. Always a pleasure.
Up the Millers. Enjoy the safety. And we'll see you in a week. Thank you very much.
Championship Millers.
Championship Millers.
Ravel. Vicious. Brilliant. Mule with it. Wood's got round the back. And Richie Wood has done it again. The magic man has come up with another trick. Well, here's a chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie